You're working 2 jobs and still can't save a single dollar, and your landlord just slid a notice under your door that rent is going up again. If that hit close to home, stay here. Because in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why this keeps happening, who's actually responsible, and, most importantly, the real steps. People in your exact situation have used to stop the bleeding and start building something. No fluff, no just cut your coffee advice. Real stuff. Let me paint a picture. You wake up at 6 a.m., you work your first job until 3, you grab something fast to eat, probably from a dollar menu, and you're at your second job by 4. You get home at 11 p.m., your feet hurt. Your eyes are heavy. You open your banking app for a second and then immediately close it because it stresses you out. You do this 5, maybe 6 days a week. And at the end of the month, after all that work, all those hours, all that energy, you have almost nothing left over. Maybe 0. Maybe you're even a little negative. And now rent went up. This isn't a personal failure. This is a system that is genuinely working against you. And I don't say that to make you feel better. I say it because once you understand the system, you can start working around it. Here's something most people don't know. Between 1985 and 2023, wages in the US grew by about 18% when you adjust for inflation. Just 18% over nearly 40 years. But during that same period, rent prices went up by over 200%. Healthcare costs went up by over 600%. And the cost of childcare, education, and food all went up faster than wages did. So you're not imagining it. The math genuinely does not add up anymore. A person working full-time at minimum wage in the US today earns about $15,000 a year before taxes. The federal poverty line for a single adult is around $14,580, so you're technically above the poverty line, but only just. And that number doesn't account for rent, which in most US cities now runs anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 a month for a basic 1-bedroom. You can't save what doesn't exist, and 2 jobs doesn't fix it either. Not when both jobs are paying close to minimum wage, not giving you benefits, and scheduling you for just enough hours that they don't have to give you full-time status. That's not an accident, by the way. A lot of companies do that on purpose. There's something called the low-wage trap, and it works like this. You take a low-paying job because you need money now. That job takes up your time and energy. Because you're tired and broke, you can't invest in skills, courses, or anything that would help you move up, so you stay at the same level. And when money gets tighter, you add a second job, which takes up even more time, leaves you even more drained, and makes it even harder to work on anything better. You end up running faster just to stay in the same place. A 2022 study from the Pew Research Center found that 8% of American workers hold more than 1 job. But among people earning under $30,000 a year, that number jumps significantly. And here's the brutal part. Most of them report that even with the second job, they still feel financially behind. More hours, same hole. When rent goes up, it doesn't just mean you pay more money, it means everything shifts. Say your rent goes up $150 a month, that's $1,800 a year. For someone earning $28,000 a year after taxes, that's over 6% of your entire income, gone, just like that, without getting anything extra in return. And rent increases aren't slowing down. In 2021 and 2022, US rents increased by an average of 25% nationally. Some cities saw 40% increases in a single year. Even in smaller cities, increases of 10 to 15% per year have become normal. Landlords say it's because their costs are going up too. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and some of that is true. But studies also show that in cities where large corporate landlords own a big chunk of the rental market, rents go up faster and more aggressively than in places where most rentals are owned by individual people. In 2022, a ProPublica investigation found that some property management software was being used by multiple landlords to coordinate rent increases. Basically price fixing, except it was happening through an algorithm. So yes, the system is literally rigged in some cases. Here's a number that should make your jaw drop. According to a 2023 Bankrate survey, 57% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency expense with savings, more than half. And for people earning under $30,000, that number goes up to over 75%. So if you have 0 in savings right now, you are not alone. You are the majority. But here's why 0 savings is so dangerous. It's not just about the emergency, it's about the spiral. When something goes wrong, your car breaks down, you get sick, your phone dies, and you have no savings, you have 2 options. You borrow money, or you don't fix the problem. Both of those options cost you more in the long run. You borrow on a credit card at 24% interest, or you can't get to work because your car isn't fixed, or you lose your second job because you missed a shift, and now you're further behind than before. 0 savings doesn't just mean you can save. It means every small problem becomes a big one, and big problems can knock you completely off your feet. Okay, here's where I stop explaining the problem and start talking about what actually works. I want to be honest with you. I'm not going to tell you to make a budget spreadsheet and cut subscriptions. You've heard that. You don't have subscriptions to cut. Let's talk about real moves. The word savings feels big and far away when you have nothing. So don't call it savings. Call it a buffer. And the goal of a buffer isn't to be rich. The goal is to stop the spiral. Even 300 changes your situation. That covers most car repairs. It covers an unexpected bill. It means you don't have to put it on a credit card. So the first target isn't 10,000. It isn't even 1,000. It's 300. How do you get there? You look for one thing, one small leak or one small boost that can get you 10 to 20 a week, selling something you don't use, picking up one extra shift a month at one of your jobs, doing a task on TaskRabbit, Fiverr, or Facebook Marketplace. Watching someone's dog for a weekend. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be consistent. 15 a week is 780 in a year. That's not nothing. That's a buffer. That's the difference between a bad day and a disaster. Most people treat rent like it's fixed, like it's weather, like it just happens to you. But rent is negotiable more often than you think. If you've been a good tenant, paying on time, not causing problems, you have more leverage than you realize. Landlords hate turnover. Finding a new tenant costs them money. Listing fees, cleaning, repairs, weeks of empty apartment. In many markets, keeping you is cheaper than replacing you. So before the next increase kicks in, have a conversation. Be calm. Be respectful. Tell them you've been a reliable tenant, that you want to stay, but that the increase is going to make it hard for you to do that. Ask if there's any flexibility. Even 50 less a month adds up to 600 a year. A 2019 study found that 78% of people who asked for a lower rent actually got some kind of reduction or freeze. 78%. And most of them said they were nervous to ask. Ask anyway. If negotiating doesn't work, look into your city's renter protection laws. Many cities, especially in California, New York, Oregon, and Minnesota, have rent control or rent stabilization laws that cap how much your landlord can raise rent each year. A lot of renters don't know their rights. Go to your city's housing authority website. Look it up. You might find out that raise wasn't even legal. This one surprises a lot of people. If you're earning a low income, there are programs specifically designed to put money back in your pocket. But most people either don't know about them or think they're too complicated. The Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC, is a federal tax credit in the US for people who work but earn under a certain amount. For a single person with no kids, it can be worth up to $600. For someone with kids, it can be worth over $7,000. And it's fully refundable, meaning you get it as a check even if you don't owe any taxes. In 2022, about 25 million people claimed the EITC, but the IRS estimates that 20% of eligible people don't claim it. That's millions of people leaving free money on the table. Go to irs.gov and use their EITC assistant. Takes 5 minutes. Also look into the child tax credit if you have kids, SNAP benefits for food, and your state's utility assistance programs. Many states have programs that help low-income households cover electricity and heating. You might qualify and not even know it. This isn't charity. You pay taxes. This is your money coming back to you. Here's the real problem with two jobs. Both of them trade time for money. You show up, you work, you get paid. When you stop showing up, the money stops. There's no leverage, no way to earn more without working more hours, and you're already out of hours. The only way out of this long term is to start building something that doesn't trade your time one for one. I'm not talking about a side hustle that requires 10 hours a day. I'm talking about something small that can grow slowly while you're doing everything else. Some people start by selling things they make or find on eBay, Etsy, or Facebook Marketplace. Some people learn one skill, basic photo editing, writing product descriptions, social media posting, and do it for small businesses on weekends. Some people start a simple Instagram page around something they know and slowly build an audience they can eventually monetize. None of these blow up overnight. But the goal isn't to blow up. The goal is to start building something that has the potential to grow without requiring more and more of your time. Even $200 a month from something outside your two jobs changes the math. It's not enough on its own. But it starts to shift the ratio. And over time, if you're consistent, it compounds. A 2021 survey by Zapier found that 40% of Americans have a side hustle. Among people under 35, it was over 50%. And the ones who reported the most success weren't the ones who went biggest the fastest. They were the ones who stayed consistent the longest. This one's more personal, but it matters. A lot of people who are struggling financially go quiet about it. They don't want to seem like they're failing. They don't want to ask for help. They carry it alone, and that isolation makes everything harder. But the truth is, someone in your circle probably knows something useful. A job opening, a cheaper apartment, a person who can fix your car for less, a program or resource you haven't heard of. You don't have to broadcast your situation, but being honest with one or two people you trust can open doors you didn't know existed. And beyond the practical stuff, the mental weight of financial stress is real. A 2013 study published in Science found that financial stress actually reduces cognitive function. It's like losing 13 IQ points. It makes it harder to make good decisions, plan ahead, and stay focused. That's not weakness. That's biology. Stress takes up mental space, and you can think your way out of a problem when the stress of that problem is eating your brain. Talking about it helps, whether that's a friend, a family member, a free counseling service, or even an online community of people in similar situations. The act of saying it out loud reduces the weight of it. And a lighter head makes better decisions. Look, I want to be real with you about something. Individual steps matter. Negotiating your rent, claiming your tax credits, building a small buffer. All of that is real and it works. But none of it fixes a system that has been pushing costs onto the people with the least ability to absorb them for decades. Housing policy, wage policy, healthcare policy, those are political issues. And I'm not going to tell you what to think about politics. But I will tell you this, knowing what's happening and why it's happening makes you a harder target. When you understand that rent increases are partly structural, you stop blaming yourself and start strategizing. When you understand that savings is hard because the math is broken, not because you're bad with money, you stop spiraling in shame and start looking for actual levers. You are not failing, you are operating in a hard environment. And the people who get out, not quickly but steadily, are the ones who stop waiting for the environment to get easier and start finding every small advantage they can. So here's what we covered. Wages have barely moved in 40 years, but costs, especially rent, have gone up massively. The two-job trap keeps people stuck because it trades time for money without building anything. Zero savings creates a spiral where small problems become big ones. But the way out starts small. Build a 300 buffer first. Negotiate your rent before you accept the increase. Claim every tax credit and benefit you're entitled to. Start something small outside your jobs that could grow over time, and stop carrying this alone. None of these are magic. None of them work overnight, but they work. And they work better than just grinding harder at two jobs and hoping things change. The next video on your screen right now is going to show you exactly how people making under $30,000 a year actually started building real financial stability. Watch it.